We're going on a trip. It's not in a rocket ship. That was a little. Yep. Welcome to Tuesday's Tales. And this week, we're going on a trip. But where are we going? Are we going to London with Madeline? Are we going to Grandma's with the Berenstain Bears? We're going to Grandma's! Yes! I tell you, when I was a kid, my sister and I and my cousin used to spend a week at my grandma's house, and it was great. And we also used to go on another week we'd spend it with my other grandma, and it was also fun. So, let's get started with the Berenstain Bears and the week at Grandma's. All right, by Stan and Jan Berenstain. This makes Grandma's house look like a magical special place, which, if you've ever been to your grandma's house, it definitely is. Once in a while, the Bear family, who lived in the big tree house down a sunny dirt road deep in Bear country, got out the family snapshots and looked at them. "What are these?" asked Sister Bear, picking up a book of photos. "I don't think I've ever seen these before." There were pictures of bears playing tennis, canoeing, dancing, and having all sorts of fun. The bears looked like Mama and Papa, only they were younger and thinner. Well, that's how life goes. "They're pictures of Papa and me on our honeymoon," said Mama with a smile. "At Grizzly Mountain Lodge," said Papa. "We had a wonderful time." "What's a honeymoon?" asked Brother. "A honeymoon is a special trip couples take when they get married," explained Mama. "Getting married is a very special happening, and celebrating it with a trip is an old custom." "As a matter of fact," said Papa, "we've decided to go on a second honeymoon. We're going back to the same place and play tennis, go canoeing, and have fun." "It'll be lovely," said Mama. "A second honeymoon sounds like a pretty good idea to me," said Brother. "Me too," said Sister. They scooted out of the room and were back in a jiffy with their vacation things. "Oh, you won't be coming," said Papa. "Honeymoons, even second honeymoons, are just for grown-ups, not for cubs." "But what's going to happen to us?" asked Sister. "It just so happens," said Mama, "that Gran has been after me to let you spend a week with her and Gramps, and this will be the perfect opportunity." "A whole week?" said Brother. "But we've never stayed with anybody that long," said Sister. "Well," said Papa, taking a few practice swings with his tennis racket, "there's got to be a first time for everything." "What will we do for a whole week?" asked the cubs. "Where will we sleep? What will we eat?" That's real. "Goodness," said Mama. "Such a fuss about a simple thing like spending a week at Grandma's." Didn't seem like a simple thing to the cubs. They loved Gramps and Gran very much. But, well, they just weren't Mama and Papa. Besides, Gramps and Gran were sort of old. Ow. "What are you taking with you?" Sister asked Brother when it was time to pack. "I'm taking 2 books, my jacks, and my teddy, of course." "These," he said, holding up some books and his best yo-yo. Papa put their suitcases in the car trunk last, so that when they got to Gran's, unloading was as easy as 1, 2, 3. Then, after lots of big bear hugs and kisses, the happy second honeymooners were on their way. "It certainly is good to see young folks having fun," said Gran as she waved goodbye. "We're the young folks," muttered the cubs. "We're the ones who are supposed to be having fun." "I'm sure you're hungry after your ride," said Gran when they went in. Now that sounds like my mama. My mama, I'd be in the house 5 minutes and she'd think we were all starving. I think that's like standard grandma procedure. "How about some of my special honey nut cookies and milk?" "No thanks, Gran," said Sister. "I'm not hungry right now." "Hey, these are really good," said Brother. Sister sneaked a taste. They were good. But, well, they just weren't Mama's. "Now let's get you up to your room so you can get settled," said Gramps. The cubs reached for their bags, but before you could say "Grizzly Gramps," they were gathered up, bags and all, and carried up the steep stairs. Gramps certainly was strong for someone so old. Honesty. It's right here. The room at the top of the stairs was very nice indeed. But, well, it just wasn't home. "Gramps," said Sister, "where do you suppose Mama and Papa are right now?" "Well," said Gramps, "I reckon they're still on the road, just pulling into the site of the Grizzly Mountain Lodge." After they unpacked their things, Gramps thought the cubs might like to explore around the house. While it wasn't home, it was an interesting house. There was the attic crowded with all sorts of interesting things, and Gran's kitchen with its yummy taste and smells, and Gramps' den. Gramps knew how to build a ship in a bottle. When the cubs asked him how it was done, he just smiled. "What do you suppose Mama and Papa are doing now?" they asked them. "I reckon they've gotten into their tennis clothes and are swatting the ball back and forth." Over the next few days, Brother and Sister found lots to do. They helped Gran feed her bird friends, more kinds than they had ever seen in one place, and Gran knew all their names. They helped Gramps cut and smooth twigs for a new ship in a bottle. It turned out that he built them outside the bottle and then slid them in. It was pretty tricky. They went fishing in a special place Gramps knew about. "Well," said Gramps as they returned with a fine catch, "I reckon that your Mama and Papa are out canoeing right now." "I certainly hope they're having fun," said Sister, "because we sure are." Better get these chairs in," said Gramps after a fine fish fry. "It's going to rain tomorrow." "How do you know?" asked Brother. "I can feel it in my bones," answered Gramps. Turned out Gramps was right. "Good," said Brother. "We'll be able to relax a little." Sister got out her jacks, and he started to play with his yo-yo. "Used to be pretty good with one of those myself," said Gramps. Was he ever! Not only could Gramps make the yo-yo sleep and walk the dog, he could even do baby in the cradle and round the world. That evening, after a refreshing nap, they all went to Gramps and Gran's regular Friday night square dance. Gramps and Gran didn't just watch. They do-si-doed with the best of them. They even won a prize for friskiest couple. They get down. Goodness, said Sister in the morning. This week really flew by. And we learned so much, added Brother, practicing baby in the cradle. Gramps and Gran, how come you know so much? Asked Sister. So many things. Why, you can even feel the weather in your bones. That's one of the good things about being an older person, said Gramps. You learn something every day, so that by the time you're old enough to be a grandparent, you know quite a lot. Valid. Grandparents know lots of things. Gee, said Sister, I guess you and Gran are so old, you must know everything. Oh no, said Gramps, laughing. You never stop learning. Why, just this week we learned something very special. We learned how absolutely wonderful it is to be grandparents and have lovely grand cubs. They've called them old at least 4 times this week. Then Gramps and Gran swept their grandcubs up in a big hug. The next thing they knew, a familiar beep beep was heard. It was Papa tooting the horn. He and Mama were back from their second honeymoon, and it was time for the cubs to go home. After saying goodbyes and thank yous, the Bear family piled into the car and headed home. No sooner were they on their way than Brother and Sister were bubbling over with the fun and excitement of their week at Grandma's. Well, said Papa, sounds like you had a pretty good time. Oh, we did, said Sister. Papa, sometime you might want to go on a 3rd honeymoon, and then we could spend another week at Grandma's. A 3rd honeymoon, said Papa. I don't think anyone's ever gone on a 3rd honeymoon. Well, said Sister, there has to be a first time for everything. The end. All right, Bible story for tonight. It's called Filled Full, based on the feeding of the 5,000 from Matthew 14, Mark 6, and Luke 9 in the Grown-Up Bible. There were once 5,000 tired and hungry and probably very grumpy people sitting on a hillside wanting their dinner. They'd come to hear Jesus that day. They came before breakfast, stayed all morning, all afternoon, and way past dinner. No one had meant to be out there that long, but that's just how it was, listening to Jesus as if time didn't exist. People could listen to Jesus for hours, and on this particular day, that's just what they did. But they hadn't brought enough food, and they couldn't just go and buy themselves a burger and fries to go, because, of course, they were in the middle of nowhere, with no shops or restaurants. Besides, that kind of food wasn't invented yet. What would they do? Jesus' friends had an idea. Let's send everyone home for dinner. They don't need to go, Jesus said. You give them something to eat. Did Jesus want them to travel all the way to town and buy food for everyone? Jesus' friends panicked. But we don't have enough money. What food do you have? Jesus asked. Go and see. Now there was a little boy in the crowd. He had brought a lunch that his mother had made for him that morning. He looked at his 5 loaves and 2 fish. It wasn't much, not nearly enough for 5,000, but it was all he had. I have some, he said. Jesus' friends laughed when they saw his little lunch. That's not nearly enough, they said, but they were wrong. Jesus knew it didn't matter how much the little boy had. God would make it enough, more than enough. Jesus said, Bring me what you have. And so the little boy gave Jesus his lunch. Jesus winked at the little boy and whispered in his ear, Watch. How in the world will Jesus feed everyone with just that? Jesus' friends said, because they thought it was impossible. But Jesus knew the one who made all the fish in the oceans, and Jesus knew the one who in the very beginning had made everything out of nothing at all. How hard would it be something like this be for someone like that? Jesus took the little boy's lunch, looked up to heaven, and thanked his Father. Then Jesus gave the little lunch back to his friends. As Jesus' friends started to hand out the food, do you know what? It was the strangest thing. No matter how much they broke off, there was always more, and more, and more. Enough for 5,000. Everyone ate as much as they wanted. Second helpings, third helpings, even fourths, till they were full, and still there were leftovers. Well, Jesus did many miracles like this, things people thought couldn't happen, things that weren't natural, but it was the most natural thing in all the world. It's what God had been doing from the beginning, of course, taking the nothing and making it everything, taking the emptiness and filling it up, taking the darkness and making it light. The end. All right, our story for next week. No votes next week because next week school starts. So we have a school story. I know, they're back. I didn't know there were this many of these books, but when I knew, I was like, I had to have this one for when school starts. So this will be our book for next week, If You Take a Mouse to School. So we'll see you back here next week at 7:30. Thanks for tuning in. Also, if you're watching this now, you can go on our YouTube channel for our C Street Kids. All you gotta do is type in C Street Kids, like this, yeah. I don't type like that anymore. C Street Kids Wahala. Hit subscribe, and all week we have a virtual camp open. It's designed for completed 3rd through completed 5th grade, but if you want to watch it with your kids, you can do that. If you need any of the information to do it, just let me know and I will send it to you. It's going to be a really great week, and I hope to see y'all next week. Bye.